Hi, and welcome to New Jersey Wedding Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the podcast to listen to while planning your wedding in New Jersey. And we are your hosts, Andrea Pertel and Celia Milton. And how's it going with you today, Celia?
Yeah, you're just hanging around, like everybody else in New Jersey. In July, we're like grumpy and hot, but yeah, okay.
We have the heat wave. The
We
heat
are.
wave.
We're hanging in there.
We're on fire here. And that's we were
Well,
just
speaking
talking.
of that,
Speaking of that,
that was smooth. Wow.
segue.
Oh
So
my God.
the we were talking, Celia and I were just talking about this. It was all over the news. It was on Good
Oh
Morning
gosh.
America, and it was the bride whose dress and veil caught fire. And I want to say, if you listen to this podcast, which I know you all do, you should.
You're listening to
I
it now.
one of my just hit subscribe and start listening to it in your car or on your
Yeah,
walks. But one of my biggest advices that I give regarding ceremonies is making sure your aisle is wide enough and your ceremony space is wide enough. And if you have a wedding planner, a good wedding planner will make sure of that. A good banquet manager will make sure of that. But so often in certain, in some venues, it's almost as if they tell the busboys, go set up the chairs, put, 6 on each side or 8 on each side or 4, or whatever it might
right.
be. And you get there and you realize that the person that set up the chairs is doesn't really know the a wedding procedure, and the
That's what
aisles
happened.
sometimes are really narrow. You have to think about a bride, and maybe her dress is a ball gown, and her dad or somebody special is escorting her down the aisle, and quite often it might be both parents. So
Both
you need
parents, right?
enough room for 3 across. It shouldn't be cramped. There's something that's so sad when you see the bride and her dad start to walk down the aisle and they can't both fit down the aisle. So one is slightly
Yeah,
ahead, dad's slightly ahead. That shouldn't be. You shouldn't
right,
start your day off like this. And so
right.
when I walk in, if I feel the aisle and then the ceremony space, the bride and groom should not be standing on top of that front row. There's no reason for this.
No,
So,
there really isn't.
when I arrive, I'll make sure that if I feel that it's too narrow, I'll say something, or if the ceremony space isn't wide enough. And now let's top that off with decorations in the aisle
Oh
and
God.
candles.
Mm.
Celia and I have both worked where there's glass candle thing with the floating candle in it along the aisle. And I have worked where a guest, of course, has broken them because when people are trying to get out
Right,
after the ceremony, and now you've got water and glass all over the
right.
place. I know Celia has a story. It was where a fire did start, like
Oh my God.
the
I had a guest catch on fire.
right.
Like this is not
Tell us
there's
that. Was it coming in or leaving
It
the
was coming
ceremony?
in. This
Oh,
is like literally the first 10 minutes that this woman had been on site. Walks over. She had a big dress, a big guest dress, but with like a long skirt. And she was on fire. I looked over and the busboys were trying to pat her down with a tablecloth and get it.
r-
But now it's the beginning of the evening and she's wearing a tablecloth all night.
yeah.
It's like, it
Yeah, yeah.
just
There's
doesn't.
no reason to decorate
No,
your
there
aisle
really
with
isn't.
glass, water,
No,
or fire. They
no,
make
that's
electric flames now. Get those.
mm,
Don't use glass. Don't use glass if people are
I,
going to trip over them. And don't
no,
use water.
they're not
There's
paying attention, and
so
a lot of our venues don't even allow open flames anymore.
nope,
The
nope.
only thing you might be able to get away with is if you're doing a unity candle, but
Right,
somebody from that venue comes up and grabs all that stuff as soon as we're done. Because
right, right.
it's
You know,
dangerous.
it,
People aren't paying attention to it.
it is it's your guests or your bride. And in this case, why it didn't cross, because this was at a nice venue, and you guys
It
can look
was.
up the video. It just happened, July
Yeah.
of 2024. It was on Good Morning America. It's gone viral.
Oh
It's a
gosh, it was everywhere.
it's in a pretty venue. There should have been many people. If you have a professional officiant, they would have said something. A professional banquet manager, a professional wedding planner. How I don't know if this was all done by friends and they didn't realize. narrow aisle, and then to top it off, when the bride and groom recess, that's the end of the ceremony, when you recess down
Mm.
the aisle, um, the recessional, you know how sometimes you blow bubbles or you throw rose petals? They did silly string guns. Now the silly string is catching on fire. It was just like, what did you say? That the whole family was firefighters too.
I just don't even, I just don't, I do not understand it. The only thing that I could think of, like, I'm watching this whole thing thinking, thank goodness they did not have a dog in that mix, because then, it's like, whoa, toys,
Well, I can tell you when I come in, it can be awkward to say to whomever's running the show there, I saw the bride, her dress is a ball gown, and her dad's going to be walking her down the aisle, or
Right.
both parents, and this aisle isn't wide enough, and those candles look dangerous. We need to move this, make it big, and make it so that the guests come in from the other side maybe, and they're not
Right.
gonna touch these glass floating candle things,
Oh God, I'm like so
or
over
there's
them
not
anyway.
enough space. But you're right about many venues don't allow open flames anymore for
Right.
this reason. I always, when I have a unity candle ceremony, I bring a tea light candle. I like to light that beforehand,
Yeah.
and that is what the couple uses to light their candles from. It's much nicer than a lighter, even if you have
And
a
the
nice flame.
barbecue lighter, the
Uh,
big red lighter, everything is gorgeous and they've
and
spent thousands on
yeah,
flowers.
right, right.
So,
But, I used to always ask the venue, "Can we need a little tea light here?" And then I had one venue that we don't have candles of any kind anymore. They're
mhm,
all electric. So I bought, I just have some that I usually have one in my bag, but I also have the pretty lighter like you as well.
mhm.
But you're right. And I think from now on going forward after this, many of them are not going to allow that. No,
It's
no way.
just it's just, you're just asking for trouble, because it's not what people are paying attention to,
No.
and that's one of the reasons that you get a planner.
Right, right.
And
Somebody that somebody, and speaking of planners,
speaking of planners, we happen to have one coming right up.
we
So
had a really nice interview with a wedding
Jacqueline is
planner,
so fun. She was so
Jacqueline
much fun.
of, yeah, the wedding planning company.
Yep.
She was a lot of fun, woman-owned business, very passionate about her job, very
Yeah.
knowledgeable, and just a great planner to work with. You've worked with her on several
Yeah. I've
occasions.
worked with her a couple times. Her staff is very fun. And
Yeah.
they're
Where
just,
were you last when you worked with her?
I can't remember. Michael worked with her. And actually he said, I really love this person. We should get her on the podcast. It's like, okay, cool. And
Great.
I've worked with her over the years, and it's just, for those little things that you just don't think about, even like, you're gonna have a unity candle. Well, does somebody have a lighter? Like,
Right.
is there a candle up there? There's so many billions of details that,
Oh,
and
she
they're used to doing that. Every week they have a wedding or two or five or 12 that have a million details that a person who is planning their own wedding just really doesn't think about,
with the
you
one
know?
thing that she said, like, yeah, making a schedule of when everything arrives, because it all
Right.
can't arrive at once, but you do need the linens to arrive before the flowers,
Yes.
because we have to put the linens on the table before we put the She
Right.
knows it. She's got it. It's what experience can teach you. She grew
That's
up
right.
in the business, and she has a great team.
Yeah,
Uh,
it just makes it so much smoother, because people don't realize that there are things that have to be done in a certain order. Even like with the cake, if the cake is being delivered at X time, well, you need to have a linen to put under the cake.
right,
And
right,
nobody can set if you're getting specialty linens. Nobody at that banquet hall can do anything until those linens are there.
right.
We work
So,
at a lot of places too that have multiple weddings. You can't get in 7 hours ahead of time to do this. You have a 2 hour block of time. It's from this exact time to that exact time. And
yeah.
those are all things that, especially if you're working like in a loft space, or, a place that doesn't necessarily have an on-site caterer. There are so many details, and you do not want to be the point person. You want to
Right, right.
just be the
It's
bride
like
or the groom.
it's like a good wedding planner is a choreographer at that point. Like
Yeah,
this happens at this
absolutely.
time and that, and don't miss a beat because then we're out of sync, you know? So
Oh, yeah.
so stay tuned, guys, for this. You're going to enjoy this interview, especially if you're looking for a wedding planner or just for some great tips. So Jacquelyn from the Wedding Plan and Company.
Great.
So stick around for this.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Planning your dream wedding at the Jersey Shore or anywhere in New Jersey? Look no further than For This Joyous Occasion Officiating Services. I am Andrea Pertel, and I am a full time professional wedding officiant certified to legally perform weddings in New Jersey. With 14 years of experience and over 1,000 weddings officiated, I specialize in creating personalized ceremonies just for you. Use my unique Build Your Ceremony menu to create your own ceremony based on your preferences. And if you like, I'll work with you to create an even more personalized and unique ceremony. So, whether you are looking for religious, non denominational, spiritual, non religious, interfaith, or multicultural services, I have a perfect ceremony package to fit your needs and budget. So visit me at forthisjoyousoccasion.com to learn more and make your special day truly joyous.
Hello, everyone. We are so happy to welcome Jacquelyn Aleece, who is the mastermind of the Wedding Planning Company, female owned and operated. We love that. They are all over the country and they can help engaged couples go from that excited and confused and nervous state to being relaxed and excited and stress-free. They've 20 years of wedding experience, wedding planning experience. They've got customized wedding packages that can help all kinds of couples with all kinds of needs not make those common wedding planning mistakes, which are time consuming, upsetting, and often costly as well. So we're very excited to have her and find out some of her insider tips to planning the wedding you always dreamed of but had actually no idea of how to get there. So what you get there by hiring her. It's that easy. How are you this morning?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
My pleasure.
Oh, I've had the pleasure of working with you a few times, and everything is very organized and smooth, and everybody seems to be having just a great time, and they're not worried about anything. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your, how do you get to that end with your couples?
Yeah, I would be happy to share. So yes, I have personally had the pleasure of working with you many years ago, and then I know recently we've had wonderful experiences
Yeah.
together working with a lot of our what we call senior wedding planners from my
Mm,
team. So we have 15 senior wedding planners that work for my company, and they are all in-house. Staffed wedding planners. So we're not contracted out. We don't contract the work out. All of our senior
mm.
wedding planners have been with my company for a minimum of 5 years, but many of them have been with me upwards of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12
Excellent.
years. So we have, and I personally, worked my very first wedding at the age of 10 years old at my grandfather's wedding venue in New Jersey. So I really grew up with weddings and events and timeline and flow and logistics, really just kind of in my blood. And after college, I was in corporate events for many years, but really the experience starting at 10 years old all the way up to
Wow.
started
Right.
my business really about putting processes in place, standard operating procedures, best practices, um, customer service, customer experience. I actually have many years experience training other businesses, wedding related and not wedding related, in how to grow your business just based on giving great customer service and being very detail oriented. So the calmness that you see and the happiness that you see doesn't just come from a beautiful wedding. It comes from a very detailed and planned wedding. The more you practice something, the more you plan something, the more detail
Absolutely.
into something, the easier the flow, the more fun everybody can have, because there's no confusion, and confusion is the thing that leads to chaos. So
Mhm.
if there's lots of great communication, if there's lots of details discussed prior to the event, and we really deep dive into all of that prior to the event, then all of a sudden on the event day and wedding day, you know, the couple, the families, the vendors, everybody's just on the same page, and everybody knows where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing. Nobody's stepping on each other's toes. And it really just allows everyone to focus on their portion of the day, excuse
Mhm.
me,
Yeah.
their portion of the day without the chaos. And that's, I think, the goal.
Well said, well said. I always love working with a good wedding planner because it allows us to focus on our portion of the day, because we we become, and we always talk about this, becoming your team, the
Yep.
couple's wedding team when we arrive, and then you're the person I get to check in with. I don't have to bother the couple. If I have any questions, I can talk to you and get the marriage license from you. But two of the things you said that make such a great wedding planner is excellent customer service and being detailed oriented, because you have to have excellent customer service really in any job, but especially with brides and grooms who start getting nervous. You have to call back right away, and
Yeah.
and be able to solve their problems. But and of
Yeah.
course the detail oriented. And I can say too, growing up in a business is probably the best experience, starting at
Yes.
10, being around the business. But I love on your website, and I'll share with our listeners, we will be putting a link to Jacquelyn's website and Instagram. The website is theweddingplanandco.com, and Instagram, I believe, is wedding planner, the wedding
Um,
planner and company. But
it's at the Wedding Plan and Company.
oh, okay. All right. The links will be on there. But on your website, your different packages to schedule
Yeah.
a consultation. I like the 4 different packages from full to a la carte. I love that you don't call it day of, that you call it month of. And then this
Yes.
new power couple one. Yeah, tell us about the packages that brides and grooms can choose from.
Absolutely. So we offer, yes, so we offer the traditional full service wedding planning for the couple that's coming to us with a totally blank slate and really wanting our help every single step along the way.
Mhm.
We absolutely offer that. We love doing it. We offer that for New Jersey weddings. We have a team of planners in California. Destination weddings is becoming a specialty of ours. We're doing 3 weddings in Italy this year. So for our
Oh,
full
wow.
wedding planning package, destination weddings are huge. We've done weddings in Mexico, and actually destination weddings even in the US as well. So we
Right.
recently did a destination wedding in Dallas, Lake Tahoe, and California. Like I mentioned, we've done Napa Valley and Malibu pretty frequently. So our full service wedding planning for destination weddings or New Jersey is something we offer. We, of course, I really love actually offering our a la carte wedding planning. And the way I like to describe it is like very similar to going to a restaurant, having a menu and just ordering the things off the menu that you want. And of course, not ordering the things that you feel like you can handle on your own. So
Right.
it becomes very customizable. It allows you to get the help where you need and not pay or invest in services that you feel like you can handle on your own. So that is a very flexible way for us to be able to work with clients and different couples at different price points or just different needs. So that's
Mhm.
really fun. We do call, yes, famously in the wedding world, and I wish collectively everybody in the wedding industry would stop calling it this, including the Knot and Wedding Wire and everyone like
Yeah.
where they have
Yeah.
it listed. Stop calling it day of, because there's no such thing as somebody who can just, without preparation, show up on your wedding day
Right.
and know really what to do,
Right.
what you're expecting, know you, make good decisions. So we take at minimum a month of communicating with vendors, reviewing vendor contracts, and not about changing terms or things like that of the contract, but making sure if accidentally somebody put Friday, June 5th, but June 5th is actually a Saturday, does the DJ think they're showing up on June 5th or do they think they're showing up on Saturday? Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So little things like that. So reviewing contracts, reviewing arrival times. You can't have, 10 vendors arriving at the exact same time, loading in, and would be a disaster. And, the florist can't get there before tables and linens are out and pressed, and, all sorts of things. So we do all of that. We manage family members. What time do grandma and grandpa have to be dressed for family photos? And how are, we know how the bridal party is getting to the venue, but how are your aunts and uncles who you want an hour early getting there, or whatever the case may be? Musical cues, ceremony cues, managing family and friends. So you can't really have someone just show up on the day. Yes,
Absolutely not.
our
No.
month of management, of course, includes our team being there on the day of, but I just wish collectively, I think it's a little bit of a confusing term
Agreed.
for couples who
It
don't know.
really is. And
Agreed.
I think too that like the more, that DIY worms itself into the wedding industry. And, we're going to talk about that in a few weeks. That, in some cases, it really is an expression of that couple. In other cases, it's like, oh my God, nobody knows what to do next.
Right.
They really, when I talk to anybody who's doing a lot of that in the wedding, it's like you need a coordinate. You may have your vendors that you selected, even if you're doing it mostly yourself. You may have all that under control, but without a planner, a good planner, you are going to be the point person on that day.
Right.
People are going to ask, well, where do we get water to fill up your do-it-yourself flowers? Every question is going to land on you, and you are not going to have
Right.
a good time at all.
Right. And that's actually why we offer. So our fourth service is actually called the Power Couple, which is a monthly wedding planning subscription. And this is for couples who say, we don't really have or want to, whether they have the budget or don't have the budget, or don't necessarily want to spend a certain amount on wedding planning, on someone doing traditional wedding planning. The reason why wedding planning can become very costly is you're essentially hiring someone to work for you full time for a year or more,
Right.
or whatever. So we, the planners, of course, need to be compensated appropriately for that. But sometimes couples just say, gosh, if I could just talk to someone and pick someone's brain once a month over the next year to make sure I'm on the right track, I'm, making good decisions, I'm calling the right people, and I'm just staying on track. So that's what the Power Couple is. It's once a month Zoom session with their dedicated planner from our team. So they're on the Zoom with the same planner every month, who gets to know about them and their wedding, and every month gets to just guide them. Okay, you should be working on this month, and these are the people that we will be reaching out to. Now, the difference in that is when they hang up that planning session, the couple is the one responsible for doing the phone calls and emails, but we're really guiding them with all of the professional experience. And then we partner that with some great technology, where they get a username and login for a professional wedding planning dashboard, which is amazing. And but it's really perfect for the DIY couple, or the couple that just really feels like they want to be so hands-on with wedding planning but don't want to be doing it without professional guidance.
They don't know what to
a
do.
great idea. I love this package, and you are the only wedding planner that I have come across that has this package.
Mhm. I
This
think
and
it's
like
great.
the a la carte.
Yeah.
I think these other than the fact that you and your team are great at what you do, this really sets you apart. This is, I love this
I think it's
package.
great. Well, I think we're,
Yeah.
because we're both efficients, we're thinking of the recent couples that we have married, that when you ask them, you got your wedding license, right? It's like, oh, we needed a
Right.
license? Oh yeah, we got one. We got one from New York. It's like, well, that's really not too helpful since you're getting married in New Jersey.
Right,
It's
right.
like, it's like all that, like the little things that maybe, have you really looked at your RSVPs? Do you have people you have to now chase around and call? It's like,
Right.
there's just so many details that I mean, I
Well,
could never do that.
when Jacqueline just mentioned, and it's something I never thought of all the years but I don't do receptions, is the linens have have to arrive before the flowers. Of course. Like I wouldn't have thought of that, but it's all those little things that you think about. And that kinds of before this, Celia and I were talking about, it was just on Good Morning America, the bride whose veil and dress caught fire because they had the candles and the aisle was too thin, but also, and it was in a venue, they had, as they recessed the aisle, all of their guests had silly string guns that
Oh
they
my God.
pointed out to
Oh,
them. And
no.
it's like, if you would have had that on your list, you would have said, this is a fire hazard. You're gonna,
Right.
all right, that could have been saved. All those little
Oh my
things.
gosh.
I think everybody should just really stay off Pinterest, really, and just
Or no, it's the Instagram reels.
and it's not real life, and someone has to have the guts and the professionalism to tell them, that thing that you want to do, that is really not a good idea.
Right. Well, I have to say, I don't necessarily mind Pinterest or Instagram if they are of realistic, 200. I like it when people disclose the details. So what I
Mhm.
mean by that is, there are some, whether it's a styled shoot or it's a wedding with 10 people, and they have these beautiful rentals and beautiful chairs and beautiful flowers.
Yeah.
Well, you have the budget for a $200 chair if you only have 10 people at
Yeah.
your wedding, or if it's a styled shoot. But if you're planning on having 150 to 200 guests, the chair in that photograph where you don't know the behind the scenes details of it, if you're not going to, there are chairs that you can rent for, $9 a chair, and there are chairs you can rent for $50 a chair, and there are
Yeah.
chairs that are $100 a chair, $200 a chair. And so it upsets me when couples come to us and say, this is our vision, this is what we want to do. And I say, oh my gosh, that was just a wedding planner and a photographer in their backyard, with free rentals that were donated to get that shot. And realistically, your budget would have to be 5 times what it is that you have in order to make that happen. Now, we can use it as inspiration, but it's not going to be
Yeah.
the exact thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
I have sometimes I'm like a little bit mad at like the styled shoots, because it's like I was in catering for a long time. I know what that chair costs.
Right. It's
That's
true.
that's
It's
great.
easy
I
to
never
be
thought about that with the styled shoots. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
it's easy to be elaborate when something's small, right?
Yeah.
And really controlled. But so all of a sudden people come in with their large guest counts, and one of the things I'm most passionate about is really wedding budgets. I feel like people are so undereducated, and not
Yeah.
their fault, because I actually think there's a lot of very incorrect
Mhm.
information in online, right? When people just Google things.
Yeah.
Um, but people don't understand that really their guest count is going to be the number one driver of all wedding budgets.
Absolutely. Mhm.
And the more people they have, just the bigger the building needs to be. And the bigger the building is, the more staff is, the more food is, the more alcohol, the more air conditioning, the more electricity, the more forks and knives and everything. Um,
Everything.
that goes into it. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into wedding planning, and that's why we like to help couples at every level. We give a luxury wedding planning experience, and we consider luxury not based on your budget, but the level of customer service we give.
Oh,
So
nice. Yeah.
we think
That's very
everybody
true.
really deserves a really wonderful, professional, experienced wedding planner. And that's why we offer so many different packages, because I don't think luxury wedding planning experience should be only reserved for the ultra rich.
Right.
But I think that's true too. I think luxury, to me is that everything goes beautifully and
Yes.
everybody's comfortable, and we know where the boutonnieres are, and there's nothing that couple has to worry about on that day. And that's, I mean, you're spot on with but we talk about budget all the time. It's like the
Budgets are real.
easiest way to get rid of that big budget is to get rid of those 100 people that you haven't seen since you were in grade school.
Right.
It's just like logical. It's like, oh, well, it's only $150. Oh God, I can't believe I just said that. $150 a plate, like only. It's like, oh my God. But you know,
And
the it's
plates haven't been that cheap even in a long time at a lot of
forever,
venues.
forever. But you know, it's not just that. It's your, you know, your expensive, beautiful invitation, and it's the favors if you're going to do them, and it's those chairs,
Oh,
and you know,
it's the
it's
flowers.
everything.
If you have
Right.
200 people, that's 20 tables. If you have 100 people, that's 10 tables. Your wedding budget just got cut in half and you didn't have
I
to,
know. It's great.
right? I mean, there's so many things.
Right. And just
It's
think
so
about
practical.
the wedding you could have. You could hire the wedding planner to take care of everything. If you had a guest list of 50 people and just
Yeah,
say, just go all out with just an intimate ceremony. And then the budget, goes so much further. And I think that would be great. A luxury wedding with just 50
Yeah.
guests.
I,
yeah,
I love it. I do. And you know, I think that it's on
I
any
love a
budget.
big
I think
wedding
that
too, but yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
well, we love all our weddings, but you know, I
of
feel like
course.
people who are planning a smaller wedding or micro, you know, even if that's not, maybe that wasn't their first plan. Personally, I think one of the first things that they really need to budget in there is a planner,
Yeah,
because you know, this is like for your average couple, if you know, and I've had couples who do like corporate event planning and things like that, or they're project managers, but you know, for your average person trying to do this, it's like planning a Broadway show that you've never done before, and it's also the most important event arguably in your life. It's more, no matter what you're spending, it's more money than you thought. It's like, why would you do that alone? It's like, you know, it's like having your cousin do your, like, take your appendix out. It's like, none of you know anything about this.
Celia, I use a lot of analogies, but I've never used that one. I might need to throw that one into the mix.
You know, feel free. But, you know, it's like, you know, being smart enough to know that you know nothing about this
Yeah,
and finding somebody who does, you know, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, you know, whether you're putting a new roof on or I mean, you can do that a couple times in your lifetime, but ideally, this is the only time you're ever going to do this. And
right.
whether it's giant and extravagant or small and sweet and extravagant, you need somebody who knows what they're doing. You
It
really,
is it is true because I would argue people asked us, oh, did business really drop off during COVID? And I said, well, we had to reschedule, of course, 100 weddings. So yes, of course, there was a
oh
lull
yeah,
in
yeah,
obviously in executing the weddings that were planned between certain dates. But really, once we started getting phone calls from couples saying, we still want to get married. We're going to have 15 people in our backyard, outdoors,
yes,
masked, this, that, the other thing, or not masked, but everyone's getting tested, or, whatever the protocol was at that, particular time throughout the pandemic. And people said to us, they said, I actually felt like I most people were like, I can't believe you feel like you need a wedding planner with 15 people. And they're like, well,
yeah,
if there's only 15 of us without a wedding planner, 3 of us are going to be doing work. And
that's right.
so we need to not do that. And then, I tell couples, it's just like to your point about the appendix, which I just love. Can I give myself a haircut? Sure, I can take a pair of scissors and go cut my own hair, but it's not going to look very good. It's not
And
certainly
no,
not going to
Cutting
look as
the
good
old
as
bangs.
yeah,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
And we're trying to keep our couples out of the cut your own hair mood when you were helping them plan their own wedding or
yeah,
helping them plan their wedding. So anyway, it's really I tell people, the difference is do you want to be do you want to be a guest at your wedding, or do you want to be the host? And the host has to put work in and the guest gets to enjoy it. And
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't get time back. It's one day. You hear every couple, it's the most cliche thing on the planet, but every couple says, oh my gosh, the day just flew by, it went by so fast. And you put all this time, all this effort, all this money into a day, and the last thing you should be doing is sacrificing the time of your wedding day getting phone calls from the shuttle companies, or every vendor coming up to you and asking you a million questions, or
right,
family members, or bridal party, or whoever it is. And we get to really field all of that so you can just enjoy it, have fun, relax, don't
right,
worry. Um, and that's what makes us happy. We love giving that experience to our couples. And they all say the same thing, which is I didn't have to worry about anything. I was able to enjoy my guests and my family. And that to me is and we trusted our planner. And we knew from I love it when they write in the reviews, like, we knew from our first conversation
mhm,
knew, like, we trusted them with every detail. And I think that's, the biggest win that I think we can have. And we have the most amazing team of women. I love building a company full of smart, just dedicated, amazing women who put their couples before anything. I hear a lot of business owners complain, say, I can't find, good help, or, nobody wants to work hard, or nobody will work as hard as you on your own business. And how did you grow your business? And I could never do that. And I just have to say, I've had the complete opposite experience over the last 12 years. I just have the most awesome company of women who would do absolutely anything to make their couples happy. And they work so incredibly hard, and every weekend away from their families and friends, and nighttime meetings with all of their couples, because couples work during the day. So, we just really have built something really special. And I'm very proud of all of, if you go on our website, you'll see all the different wedding planners on our about page, and the team, and they're just the most amazing group of women. Or the reviews on the Knot, I think we have over 245-star reviews at this point.
You have a lot
these
of
aren't about
press
me
too.
yeah, we have a lot of press, but those reviews aren't even about me. They're about, and I don't want them to be, they're about my amazing team. And I love reading them, and we're so proud of them. And I, am very proud for what we've built together, my team and I. So, yes. And a lot of press, we're very thankful for that. Of course, the recognition is, of course, always appreciated. It's not what we aim for, but of course it's always appreciated.
Yeah, lots of press. You can, it's so much. That's beautiful. That's well said. Very nice. Very
Thank you.
nice. Again, we will be putting the link to the Wedding Plan and Company on to their website and their Instagram on our social media site. And thank you so much for joining us today, Jacquelyn. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to talk to you. Absolutely.
Thank you. It was great talking with you both as well. Really appreciate it again, and cannot wait to work together much, much more.
Yeah, us
Yes,
too.
look
Us too.
forward to seeing you. And
Absolutely. Okay.
2024 and 2025 and beyond.
I
season.
know I actually had my first consultation call the other day with a bride for 2027. And I said,
Wow.
usually the rule of thumb is it's never too early, but I said, they won't even open up their books until 2025,
Yeah.
2027. I said, so you might be the first bride ever that's just a tad early.
You know what though? That's real. We were talking
That's
about that
great.
the other day. I think it's like we're working on 2026, which is
Yeah.
really early for us. But I feel like people who actually do have those conversations early, they know what the budget is going to be, they know what
Yes.
those numbers are, and then they don't have to work on wedding planning every single day for the next 3 years.
Well, you
Right.
know what,
It's really smart.
Celia, you hit the nail on the head. This actual bride it was probably one of the best conversations I've had with a bride who was very in tune with, I have a very specific vision. We get couples that say to us things all the time, like, oh, we've never really envisioned it. We don't really know what we want. We
Yeah.
weren't, like, quote unquote, that, person growing up where we really, dreamt about this fairy tale. And then we have other, of course, couples that come to us and say, oh my gosh, I've been dreaming about this since, since I'm 2 years old. And she was one of those brides. And she said, what I want to do is have a discussion with you about my vision, about the number of guests, about the location,
Yeah.
about what I want. And then can we go through some math and figure out how much I need to save every month over the next 3 years to make this realistic?
Yeah. That's such a smart way to deal with it. It really is.
Yeah, it was a very cool, very refreshing conversation. It was a very cool and unique take. Most people just come to us and say, I have X amount of money and X amount of people, and try to fit a square peg into a round hole that oftentimes doesn't work. And a lot of adjustments need to be made. And she kind of just came at it with, no, this is what I want, and let's kind of reverse engineer it. So it was cool.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
I like it.
Anyway, well, I won't take up more of your time, but thank you both again so
Very
much for
fun.
having me.
You're very welcome. Listen, have Weather the heat, no pun intended. And
I know, I
but-
know. Stay cool, stay hydrated, and here's to many indoor air-conditioned weddings.
Yes, I
Right,
agree with you.
exactly.
Have a great one.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye. This podcast is brought to you by New Jersey wedding officiant Andrea Pertel, owner of For This Joyous Occasion Officiating Services.
And Celia Milton, owner of NJ Vows Now, also New Jersey wedding officiating services. We're up in North Jersey and Andrea is down in Central and South Jersey. So together we cover the whole state, don't we?
Yes, yes.